Hello, welcome to The Rational Live. I'm your host, David Dole. So, sorry for being a little late. I went to grab a drink, and every time I grab a drink, I have to walk by my kid's play space, and then he screams because I'm not playing with him, and so I had to give him some attention before I came on here. But I'm glad you're all here. So, of course, this is live, very live. I will answer super chats and chats throughout the stream, but I'll also be previewing here the stories that I'll talk about today. So there's actually a couple of extra ones. Normally I do about 4 stories on a Friday. Somehow I caught myself doing 6, so there's more than normal. So I guess that's good if you enjoy this content. But let me give you a little preview here. So first, this is not really a story, but it's a story enough that I want to cover this. Proof that YouTube is suppressing independent media, using my channel as an example, but this is an issue that is spread across most independent media. Also, Tucker's new angle on COVID, which I find fascinating and hilarious. Also, Biden's support plummets. I'll get to those details and specifically which age group he's worse with, as well as, let's see here, Trudeau, Canadian story. I always try to get one in, at least one every Friday. Trudeau admits that he hates the left more than he hates the right. Fun story, going to the mindset of liberals. Also, this is why I had to add extra stories today. A guest blew up on Tim Pool. So this is a very fascinating exchange for a number of reasons. The guest that blows up on him, the random position that all of a sudden Tim Pool now apparently supports, and some other things that were said in that exchange. So I have a few clips in that story. That's a fun one. And of course, the weekly wrap-up, which I have not revisited since I collected these links, so I'll have to do a little prepping before I shoot that one, but we'll get there. All right, so first up, how is everybody doing? Y'all doing well? That's nice. There is one super chat from Christopher Cotton. Thank you so much, Christopher, for your super chat. All right. Yes, dad mode. Butthole says dad mode. Quite a name you got there. All right. This story, which I don't really know how to intro. I wasn't even sure if I'm going to cut this out, or I'm not sure if I'm going to cut this out later, but I will act like I will. So got to make sure I intro this properly. How should I intro this? Trying to think I should intro this story. This is about YouTube suppressing me, but it's not just me. It's independent media in general. All right, I don't know. I'll think of something on the fly. Let's do it live. YouTube is suppressing independent media, and now I have some real proof of that. So this is something that honestly I don't talk about enough. How YouTube has platformed what they call authoritative news sources. This is public. They've discussed this, meaning they platform essentially corporate news. So, MSNBC, Fox News, CNN, Washington Post, New York Times, their YouTube channels as well. So they started doing this back in 2017 after all the hoopla around the election and fake news. And it's only gotten much worse recently. So this is something that I was sent in an email today from YouTube. They send this out every month showing how your channel's doing. So this is my creator monthly for the month of December. Check this out. 0 new subscribers, yet 2.2 million views, 10.5 million minutes watched. This is what I say when I say YouTube is suppressing independent media. People that are watching my videos are almost all subscribers. So, and to be clear here, the new subscriber, of course there were still subscribers throughout the month, but it was offset by lost subs. But the lost subs aren't any different than what they are any other month. So, every month there's a few people that unsubscribe, but there's always a difference that's made up by a lot more people subscribing, considering I'm not a huge channel, but I'm fairly large enough. But having at the end of the month a net 0 in subscribers is completely unbelievable. This is unheard of in any other industry on YouTube. Makeup tutorials, tech reviews, video games, you're not going to see anything like this. This is specific to independent media. Which also goes to show why you have to share the stream, because honestly, and not just this stream, but my videos. Because honestly, this is the only way the stuff gets out, is word of mouth. YouTube has completely suppressed to the point where, let me show you this. So this gets into even more detail. This compares watch time from subscribers compared to not subscribers. So this is over the past year. So this already is insane. The fact that this is 50-50 at all is ridiculous. The vast majority of channels, again, in other industries, the majority of their views come from not subscribed. But this is over the last year. Over the last month, it's completely insane. Almost all of my views are coming from subscribers. Now, the whole reason I do this work is to educate people. Part of that is the need to, of course, educate new audiences, bring new eyeballs in. But if I can't do that, then what the hell am I doing? So YouTube is actively destroying independent media. This is completely the algorithm. Now, it's great to have no real boss as someone on YouTube, but ultimately I do have a boss. My boss is the algorithm. I'm at the whims of whatever the algorithm decides. And of course, the people behind the algorithm that are programming it and what they're told to do. So there's an intentional desire here to suppress channels like mine. Of course, I'm not the only one being impacted by this, but it is, I would say, largely an impact that is being felt by the left. Because people on the right, the way they are able to overcome this is they do reactionary content. So a lot of cultural issues, crap like, Mr. Potato Head, Big Bird, all this stuff that involves very little thinking, is easily clickable, is, can be considered shocking content. So they're able to overcome the algorithm because of that. People like me that try to do honest work, that try to report on what is happening, that discuss issues like the climate crisis, like workers' rights, like what is happening in the day-to-day in politics, we don't we don't have that luxury of doing that kind of content. I mean, the reality is we could, but we don't, because we actually have principles. Now, some people do. This is why you may have seen a recent shift in some channels to become a little more grifty, doing things like anti-vax crap, doing more right-wing targeted content, because that stuff is highly clickable, can get over a lot of the issues with the algorithm. So that's how they do it. They do this bullshit content, and they, abandon any principles or any kind of consistency they once had with discussing issues on the left. But another issue, of course, is the fact that suggested videos, I mean, I see this in my comments, I see this on Twitter, people discuss this all the time. I have this experience. When you watch, say, one of my videos, or Humanist Report, or Kyle Kalinske, or anybody else, like TYT, the next video that's suggested is not somebody else in independent media. It's Seth Meyers, it's Joe Rogan, it's Stephen Colbert, it's John Oliver. That used to not be the case. Back in, 2016, 2017, even maybe as late as 2018, we were still suggested on other people's videos. So our stuff would still come up if somebody was watching something else. But now it's completely changed. Which means, again, the only way that we really get out there to new eyeballs is either through content that randomly gets a lot of views. Like this is also part of the reason why you see channels cover crap like The View, because it's an attempt to try and bring in a new audience and keep those people. But, apart from that, apart from, random luck, for the most part, it's word of mouth in terms of how these videos get out and get spread, and these channels get spread. So part of the issue as well, and this goes to YouTube actually, their goal with this propping up authoritative sources is an attempt to suppress misinformation. That's why they did it. but it's actually now done the opposite. Because what it's now doing is it's now propping up, or it's encouraging grifting. It's encouraging reactionary content. So by them suppressing independent media, it's then forcing many people in independent media, or not forcing them, but it's encouraging them to do content that is less educational, that is more reactionary, that is just straight up garbage a lot of the times. But they do it because it gets the clicks. They're chasing clicks, and the only way a lot of people in this space can get those clicks is if they do that kind of garbage. The way that YouTube could fix this is by changing it back to the way it was. Having it so that content that is educational, regardless of who is delivering it, is going to naturally get the eyeballs because it's not being suppressed. It's going to rise to the top if it's good content. And those that deserve to get the clicks will get the clicks. If you can go back and look at CNN's page, MSNBC's page in 2016, 2015, they were barely getting any views. Barely getting any views. And now they get all the views. And it's not because they earn that audience. It's because YouTube serves that up to people. They suppress our content while serving up their content. It's completely disgusting. But again, this is why it's important to support independent media. At the very least, if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Very easy. It's free. Hit subscribe. If you want to do more, you can join on YouTube, join on Patreon, support in other ways. Links are below the video. But this is why it's important to support independent media and to share our videos around, because otherwise our content simply is not getting out there. All right. That's enough of that. I really hate talking about I hate talking about myself, and I feel like I'm complaining, but the reality is this is fucked. It's completely damaged our ability to educate people. And ultimately that's what I'm trying to do here. I mean, otherwise I would have gone to the reactionary content. I would have started, if all I cared about was a paycheck, I would have already done the grifting that many others are doing, but I don't want to do that, because I want to actually get to new audiences, educate people, and yeah, do good work. But it's hard when YouTube's against you. All right. Some super chats here. Chase Essex says, "This is why we can't have nice things." Hi, David. Yes, it is. Donald James says, "Hey, I don't give $5 to just anybody, but I'm a fan. What can I say? You do great work." Thank you, Donald. Mike H says, "Steven Donziger is home." Yes, he is. Though he's still on house arrest, right? But yeah, good to see there's at least some progress there. All right. Who's this? JTVJ says, "You may benefit from a salacious banning over on Twitch. There is a certain snack you can mention that may get you in the headlines." I don't do Twitch anymore, so I already had a video on Cracker a few days ago and did not impact me at all. That's the one thing I gotta say. You know, as horrible as YouTube is, they're not gonna ban people over saying Cracker. At least not yet, but thank God for that. All right, I'm going to prep this next story and I'll be right back. All right, back. This next story is Tucker. What more can I say? And again, just a reminder, Coming up, also a story on Biden's support plummeting, especially among one group in particular, and Trudeau admitting he hates the left more than the right, and also Tim Pool and a guest blowing up on him. Very fun. All right, let's get to this Tucker story. With the new Omicron variant of COVID-19 in the news, Fox's Tucker Carlson has a new and hilarious angle on the pandemic. Check this out.
If you find yourself living in a place where people are still talking about COVID nonstop 2 years in, it is time to move. Not just because your neighbors have been brainwashed, though obviously they have been, but because your neighbors are boring. At this point, it is simply not an interesting topic for your private life. Yes, COVID has killed a lot of people, so has prostate cancer. Imagine telling people about your prostate every day for the next 2 years. People would know that you are a narcissist. No one would sit next to you at dinner. You would be boorish. And that's exactly what COVID talk sounds to the well-adjusted among us. When we talk about COVID incessantly, we miss everything else, and that's the real point. This is a big and complicated and completely fascinating world. Babies are born, the elderly die, and in between, all kinds of amazing things happen. We succeed, we fail, we scheme, we inspire, we fall in love, we create things that hadn't existed before. We have deep and valuable insights into life itself. Human beings do a remarkable variety of legitimately interesting things. Talking about corona is not one of them. So let's stop.
All right, what an amazing, amazing segment. Coronavirus is boring. That's his new angle. Now, this is why he is so successful, because he is really good at doing this sleight of hand. He acts here like conversations about coronavirus mean it's the only conversation you're having, when clearly that is not the case. I mean, I had my parents over recently. We talked about coronavirus and we talked about everything else. Coronavirus was a small part of the conversation, but he acts like coronavirus is taking over everything. It's all done in a way to try and hide how he has downplayed the virus the entire time. He wants to focus on other issues. He knows a lot of his audience is very anti-vax. They have all these conspiracies about COVID-19. So he is trying to serve that audience by now claiming it's boring. It's a deadly pandemic that is still impacting society. Of course, people are going to talk about it. I mean, in the US alone, 800,000 Americans have died from COVID-19. Now, from 9/11, 3,000 people died. And we still talk about that, even though 9/11 is not a deadly pandemic. It isn't contagious. But 3,000 died. It's important to talk about it, of course. But 3,000 dead, 800,000 dead. How is this not a worthy topic of conversation? It's so amazing. But again, it's all part of a way to downplay how his misinformation, his lies have led to an increase in this number. Now, just to reference Omicron here. So there is an uptick in the spread of this variant, I mean, everywhere. Now, to be clear, early reports are saying that it's not as deadly, which is, if it's true, that's fantastic. So it doesn't appear to be as severe, especially if you're vaccinated. It doesn't appear to be as severe, which is great. That said, we don't know the long-term impacts of it. It may have different impacts on your health that the current variant or that the Delta variant doesn't. But you see here, be it the UK, US, Canada, and by the way, I think UK's numbers are so high because they have a fantastic testing system where you can have free tests. Anyone can just walk in anywhere, get a bunch of free tests, and there's like a QR code on there where you can scan the QR code, and that goes to a database. So this is why I think, if that same system was across the US and Canada and other countries, you would see much higher numbers in those countries as well. But that's why I think the UK number is so high. But you see here, US numbers going up, Canada now also seeing an increase. So this is why it's a conversation, because it's still impacting you. It's important when you're meeting with people with this new variant to see if they've had a test, if they have the virus, and if they don't, then great. Talk about something else. But like, I understand we're all tired. This is also why Tucker is very successful at what he does. Because of course, we are all tired of COVID-19. We don't want to talk about it anymore. It sucks, but it's still impacting society. It's still impacting our lives. So to just try and pass it off as a boring topic as opposed to an ongoing pandemic that we have to be considerate or considering in our daily lives is just completely dishonest. But again, it goes to showing how Tucker is very successful because he's able to manipulate these sorts of topics to form his own narrative. Okay. Slightly X, $5. Thank you for your super chat. Mike H says, would you say Tucker qualifies as a, sorry, bring this chat up. Tucker qualifies as a fascist. So in terms of the content he puts out there, yeah, of course. In terms of how he personally feels, I don't know if Tucker has any actual political beliefs. I mean, he's incredibly wealthy. He was born into wealth. Like, he's very sheltered. So growing up that kind of way, if you often can breed sociopaths that have no real connection to anything, and he may just be doing what he's doing to chase the money. So who knows what actually motivates him? But I think what motivates him is attention and cash. That appears to be part of the equation. And the content he puts out there, I mean, there's countless stories about how white supremacists watch his show to get the talking points, to know how to properly sell their ideas on people without scaring them away. So yeah, what he does is clearly has a incredibly negative impact on society that is leading us towards fascism. Riaz Guerrera says, Tucker knows his deluded viewers embrace any barely coherent rationale to crap on COVID anxiety. COVID is not boring. Tucker is. Well, Tucker is also, unfortunately, from my understanding, the biggest draw in prime time right now, unfortunately. But I hear you. Rhino Wiki says, do you see Dems challenging Republican efforts like Newsom did with guns on abortion, but with electoral changes, such as directly choosing electors? Do I see Dems challenging Republican efforts like Newsom did with... I don't see Democrats challenging anything right now. Like, they just abandoned the Build Back Better bill to focus on voting rights, which, yes, voting rights are important, should have been done already, but they need 60 votes. They're not... How? Like, how are they going to do that? So, whether it's Biden, whether it's Democratic leadership, they have no idea how to fight. This is the same thing every time. And it's because you have the same people in place at the top of this party. You know, people want to try and throw away the entire Democratic Party. The party isn't, a living entity. It isn't a person. It is a shell of a thing that can have the people in it replaced with other people. That's the issue, is the same people have been in charge forever. Pelosi, Schumer, Biden, we're talking about relics that have had the same politics for, 40 years. So they're not... That's the issue there, ultimately, with the party. And the way it is right now, I don't see them challenging Republicans on anything in any serious way. Okay. Going to prep this next story. I'll be right back. All right. We got a super chat here. Mark O'Brien, I love you. I love you, says Mark O'Brien. Well, thank you, Mark. I'm very fond of you. Love is a strong word, but I'm very fond of you as well. So thank you. Thank you so much for your super chat. All right. Let me get to this story now. President Joe Biden's support is plummeting especially among the youth, which means a disaster for Democrats in the midterms if they don't do something soon. So first here, the data, this from G. Elliott Morris, a data journalist for The Economist, tweeting out here. Here's my piece on our YouGov Economist data showing a huge drop-off in support for Biden among young people. The decrease really is quite stunning. Minus 50 points on net approval since January 26th, our first survey of his presidency. So taking a closer look here at the, actually this is larger, but taking a look here at the numbers, you see here it's among all groups. His rating has gone down, but most importantly, under 30, it's dropped considerably. So, and you know, the older you get, the less of an impact there is. But the ones that are feeling the impact of a lack of any real progress right now are these younger demographics. And if you don't have these people out in the midterms, you're screwed. Let alone, I mean, the next or his reelection. So this is clearly a serious issue, and it's not. This isn't happening because I don't know, the media is not covering him properly, or you know, there are these weird excuses people throw out there. Well, if you just praised Biden more, then he wouldn't have this disapproval rating. First of all, most people here probably aren't even watching the media, so they aren't being impacted by it. At least the youth under 30, they're not watching, you know, television. The real impact here is what they're feeling in their lives. Their wages are still low, or they can't. Their education isn't matching their job, so they have all the student debt and they're working for low wages, trying to pay it off. None of that money is going to, you know, being able to save for a house or a family. This is why young people in particular are being impacted by this. But not to mention, you know, healthcare, everything else in between. There has been no movement on actual real domestic policy. Now, to get a little deeper here, so looking at what Biden could be doing or could have done at this point with the Build Back Better bill, this would have gone a long way to actually helping people and improving his numbers. So this is back when the bill was still $3.5 trillion. So, you know, long-term care investments, modernizing K-12 school buildings, electricity grid modernization. So obviously climate change, a big issue for the youth as well. But look at the net support here. It's all above water because all of this, everything that was in the Build Back Better bill when it was large was incredibly popular. Medicare drug price negotiation, lower Medicare age, universal pre-K, tuition-free college, a civilian climate corps, pathway to citizenship, child tax benefits. So all of it is incredibly popular, but now, you know, that bill obviously is stripped down. But this goes to another issue as well when it comes to student debt specifically. But before I get there, a little more on the Economist analysis of this. So why have the young turned on him? Many told YouGov that their biggest concerns were climate change and healthcare. Here, the president has promised much, but so far delivered little. Younger Americans also care more about civil rights and abortion, and may be energized by recent Supreme Court rulings on the latter. Others are angry about student loan debt and Mr. Biden's unfulfilled promise to cancel at least $10,000 owed by every borrower. So let's dive a little deeper on the student debt in particular, because Biden did promise this very clearly, very specifically, back March 22nd, 2020. Additionally, we should forgive a minimum of $10,000 a person of federal student loans, as proposed by Senator Warren and colleagues. Young people and other student debt holders bore the brunt of the last crisis. It shouldn't happen again. A very specific campaign promise. Now you could say, oh, but, you know, Congress, you can't, Joe Manchin, you can't do anything. Joe Biden can do this through executive order. He can cancel all student debt through executive order. Has refused to do so. Why does Trump get to do executive order for anything he wants, but Biden can't do it for even just a minuscule 10 grand of student loan debt? When Democrats get destroyed in the midterms, this is the guy to blame. Not, you know, the media not showering love on him or whatever the hell the excuse is. Or, you know, young people not being into politics. Whatever your crap excuse is, that isn't the reason. This is the reason. Joe Biden is the reason. The Democratic Party is the reason. More here. Not only has he not canceled student debt, but now he's going to restart student debt loan payments. So right now there's a pause on student debt payments because of the pandemic that is still ongoing, that is still impacting people's lives. But now he's going to make these students, or these not students at this point, there are people in their 40s, 50s that still have student debt, but they're going to make these people now have to start paying their loans back. So under Trump, they got a pause on their student debt payments. Under Biden, they have to pay them back. So regardless of any other politics around that, all people understand is that, hey, before I didn't have to pay them. Now under Biden, I do. How do they expect to win? Like, putting aside the actual impact on lives and obviously the impact on the economy, that money no longer going back into the economy but going to student loans, put all that aside for a second. If all you care about is winning, how do you expect to win when not only do you break a campaign promise, but you also are now making people pay money that they did not have to pay under the previous president? It's just dumb. It's dumb all around. Cori Bush here, tweeting out a note to Democrats who blame progressives after losing an election, forcing millions to start paying student loans again and cutting off the child tax credit at the start of an election year is not a winning strategy. We're warning you now. Don't point fingers in November. Of course, I don't know how I forgot this. This is where the blame normally goes, to progressives. So when they get destroyed in the midterms, they're going to say, oh, critical race theory, Black Lives Matter, Medicare for all. The left calling for all these things, pointing out systemic racism. That's the issue. That's why Democrats lost. Not because the Democratic Party did not provide. Nope, not the reason. It's because progressives are calling out what should be done to help people that are struggling. It really is disgusting. Last thing here. This is just an anecdotal example of how this impacts people. So this from Business Insider. Meet an independent voter with $163,000 in student debt who left the Democratic Party after 4 decades because she felt betrayed by Joe Biden. Quote, I really felt he was going to help us with the student loan problem. So, of course, this article goes deeper, but here's somebody who's 53, is a registered Democrat, has a ton of student debt, and now is no longer a Democrat because she was failed by Joe Biden and his broken promise. And this is just one example of an experience that I'm sure many are having. You can't blame these people. I do my best to try and show the differences here between the two parties, but it's getting tougher and tougher to do that, especially when they won't even do the basics when it comes to voting rights, when it comes to systemic racism in policing. Like, just the basic thing, the basic cultural issues that Democrats at least used to be able to, hold out there. When they aren't even doing that, it's becoming tougher and tougher to discuss the differences. That said, not that I care to do this now, but there is a difference in the sense that one party is directly leading to fascism. So just keep that in mind. But still here, that is the reason that is happening. Because both parties are failing people. The Democratic Party has the opportunity to deliver. Even though, they're not fascists, but they have the opportunity here to move away from that sort of slide into fascism by giving people something, and they refuse to do so. So when they get destroyed in the midterms and then nothing at all can get done for the 2 years following that, you know who to blame. Joe Biden and Democratic leadership. All right. Mark O'Brien with another super chat saying, I am fond of you, with a laugh face. Well, Mark, thank you for your super chat. It's very kind. All right. Yeah. And yeah, I hate getting into the comparison thing because between the two parties, because there is, I don't want to have to be in a position to defend the Democratic Party because they're garbage, but there's obviously a difference in terms of one simply does not recognize objective reality at all when it comes to, a pandemic, vaccines, fascism. So there is a difference, but look at what we're getting to now. When the difference between the two is fascism or not fascism, we're not in a good place. So All the Democratic Party has to do is just deliver something for people that where they actually feel a benefit in their lives. And they're just not doing that. Okay. Next story is going to be on Trudeau. And then we're going to get to this crazy exchange on Tim Pool's show between his guest and him that I thought was going to get a little even worse than what it was. But we'll dive into that. So I'll be right back as I prep this next story. All right, I am back. I'm drinking beer here and I'm having flashbacks to chicken wings. When I used to have chicken wings. God, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to shake my love of chicken, even though I gave it up like 2 years ago. It's really depressing. All right. Let's get to this story. During a recent interview, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau admitted that the left bothers him more than the right, which I find just incredible. So first here, this story from The Star. Justin Trudeau was attacked from the political left and right during this year's election campaign, but he says it was the casual cynicism of the left that bugged him the most. Quote, "To be honest, what hit me harder on a really personal level was not the anger and the anti-everything of the far right, so much as the casual cynicism of the left," Trudeau said during a lengthy interview on Monday. Now, I have more quotes to get to in a second here, but man, this says a lot about Trudeau. White nationalists, bigotry, racism, anti-vax propaganda, right-wing violence that even he was the victim of during the election campaign. A People's Party member threw a stone at him at one of his campaign stops. All of that doesn't stand out in Trudeau's mind, no. For Trudeau, the left holding him to account is what bugs him most. It is just amazing that, I mean, there's that saying, cut a liberal and a fascist bleeds. Well, Trudeau is essentially admitting here that he's more comfortable with fascists than with the left. More here from The Star. Though he says he took it personally, he says it's not a poor prime minister lament or a plea for a pat on the back. Trudeau believes that, quote, "you did nothing" refrain cuts deeper. It turns people off the idea of government altogether. Quote, it undercuts everything we're trying to do, he says, and its logical conclusion is voter apathy. This is, again, goes to show you how twisted his view is here. It's not that he failed people. It's not that he isn't doing enough to help people's lives. It's that people are pointing it out. That's what generates voter apathy. Not his failures, but people recognizing his failures, his broken promises. That's the issue. Like, so just a few examples here on his broken promises. Affordable housing, of course, completely out the window. Clean drinking water on all First Nations reserves, broken promise. Electoral reform, broken promise, and was not revisited in the next election. Ending fossil fuel subsidies, broken promise. So, and by the way, there are countless. You can go here to this page. I'll link to below the video, or just if you search up Trudeau broken promises, I'm sure you'll come across this. But you can go read through them. There are a lot of broken promises. Of course, almost all of them have to do with issues that the left, that progressives are fighting for. So a lot of issues deal, of course, with economic policy, all broken promises. But pointing that out bothers him more than the right and their racism, their bigotry, their violence. It's incredible. So, like, this is ultimately, I think, why the left bothers him more, is because he knows that the left is correct. He knows that their criticisms are right. I mean, when it comes to the right wing and what they throw at him, it's largely bullshit. And he knows that. A lot of us know that. He knows a lot of voters know that most people don't believe the right wing bullshit. But when it comes to the left and their criticism, we don't lie. We tell the truth. We are honest about what he has failed on. So that, because we expose his failures, that bothers him more than what the right is doing. Even though what the right is doing arguably has clearly has a much more direct impact on people's lives. Looking at stuff like anti-vax or bigotry, racism, right-wing violence has a real direct impact on people's lives. All the left is doing is pointing out the failures and what needs to be done. But he's more bothered by that because it exposes what is wrong with him and his party. And also, the left exposes what is wrong with society and what needs to be done to fix it. And he is unwilling to do what needs to be done. Okay. We got more. We got a Tim Pool video, and I have the wrap up, which looks rather large. I may have to cut it down. But I think there was a chat here. Mike H says, how does Trudeau compare to Biden? Who would you say is less bad for their respective citizens? The comparison to me is hard because the US is a superpower that has a direct impact on not just Americans, but the world as a whole. So because of that, Biden, I think, clearly is worse, because what he does doesn't just impact him, or it doesn't just impact the US, but it impacts all of us. Like, if the US led properly on climate change issues, then the rest of us would have to come on board. So, but he hasn't done that, obviously. But, that's one example. Or, for example, if Biden implemented Medicare, like Bernie's Medicare for All plan, which also includes dental and vision hearing, then in Canada, we would have to improve our healthcare plan because we don't include dental in our healthcare plan. So we have to expand what we do with healthcare. So it's not to mention, pharmacare prices and all that. So there's always a direct impact on what the rest of the world is doing, but especially in Canada and culturally in Canada because of how intertwined our two countries are. Okay. Let me go to the next story. This one I prepped very late, so I'll kind of be doing it on the fly, but I got the clips already, so we will just get into it. It's going to be a guest blowing up on Tim Pool, so I will be right back. All right, this is going to be, as I said, a little on the fly. I just saw a chat comment, so let me get that first. Mary Morsi says, boy, my monitor is like tilted down and I can't read it properly. Boy to Friday, Boy to Friday. Oh, 2 Friday lives in a row. Love it. Do you think this dislike for Biden will translate into a Bernie or another progressive run in 2024? We've got to get rid of these old farts, not Bernie. First of all, thank you, Mary, for your very generous super chat. So, when it comes to 2024, I really don't know what is going to happen there, because you have Biden apparently still is wanting to run, even though he hinted before that he wasn't going to run for re-election. But now it appears that I don't know. So it's all of it. I think all of it depends on whether Biden runs again or not. So if Biden decides that he's not going to run again, there's going to be a free-for-all. I would hope that there'd be others that would come in to challenge Kamala Harris, assuming that she's still the VP at that point. I mean, there was a discussion about bringing Pete Buttigieg in as his VP, so then he would be the front runner. Oh my, Buttigieg would get eaten alive by Trump or anybody else on the right. That said, so would Kamala Harris. So it all depends on whether Biden runs or not. So if Biden doesn't run, then I think it opens up a serious lane for there to be a real challenger. I'm not sure who it would be. I don't think Bernie would do it again, even though he would probably be the most successful and may actually win if he ran again. But yeah, I don't know who it could be if that were to happen. But we are getting a bit ahead of ourselves here. So I don't, all this stuff is so, all of it can change depending on what the environment is. So it's hard to make any real predictions until we get closer to that date. Nanette Snowden says, thanks, David. Yes, our healthcare system isn't great. Dental, vision, and hearing terrible. However, we don't have people claiming bankruptcy for medical expansion. Oh, no, I completely agree. I never claimed our healthcare is worse than America's system. My point was just that if the U.S. were to get Medicare for all, like Bernie's Medicare for all, which is all encompassing, then that would then force our hand to then improve our healthcare system. Because right now, a lot of Canadians are just happy that we're better, that we have a lot of systems in place that are more successful, that are there that Americans don't have. So the fact that we have a universal system at all is just, for a lot of Canadians, good enough, because at least it's better than what our neighbors have. But if that were to change, then that would put more political pressure on the parties to actually, in Canada, to actually improve our healthcare system in a substantial way. Mark O'Brien says, is there a way to talk to you on a Patreon level? David White. I don't know what this says. White Eye Loge him. Okay. Is okay, but you and Nina Turner are my dream candidates. Well, I'm not going to run for anything, so don't look to me. In terms of talking on a Patreon, no. I mean, this is the best way to do it on Super Chat. I'm just too busy. I have a family, and like, if anything, my time's gotten less. I didn't have much time before I had a kid, let alone now. So when it comes to talking with me, Super Chat, Twitter is probably also a good place to get my attention. But apart from that, not really. Also, actually, we have a Discord as well, which I'm on weekly. I try to get on more. But if you're a patron, then you have the link to the Discord page. But it's also, I mean, people share it. You can share that page around. It's fine. So yeah. Another chat here before I get to this Tim Pool story. Nanette says, so better. Anywho, Merry Christmas. Keep up the great work. PBKH and especially not HC as floated. So I think you're saying there, Pete Buttigieg, Kamala Harris, and especially not Hillary Clinton as floated. Yeah, no, oh my God. That Hillary Clinton story, maybe some of you saw it. There was like an op-ed, I think, in The Hill about how Hillary should be the next candidate. People blow this stuff up way too much. It was like one person in like The Hill, and not just The Hill, but other outlets that do those kinds of stories do it because they get the clicks. They chase those hate clicks. That's what they're doing. So don't get fooled into thinking that Hillary Clinton's actually being seriously considered as a candidate for 2024. Now, look, I guess it's not impossible. anything can happen, but it's very unlikely. So don't let one, op-ed fool you into thinking that's a serious consideration. But yeah, just don't get worked up over nothing. Okay. Let's get to Mr. Pool, as I call him, Mr. Pool guy. Tim Pool had a very heated exchange with the rapper R.A. the Rugged Man. Now, I got to be honest. I listen to rap, but I did not really know who this guy was. But man, this exchange is crazy. So I got 3 clips here. The first one is, I guess the craziest one, but there's a lot to talk about when we get to their discussions back and forth there in the next 2 clips as well. But first, let's get to this first part of the exchange.
Documentary about the black struggle in Ferguson.
Oh, yeah, great.
Yeah. Oh, great. $100,000 budget. Yeah. James Baldwin interviews with people on the ground to talk about what they've been through. And you have the nerve to come up to me and tell me my experiences don't matter when I'm fighting the fight.
Stop screaming, bitch. Stop screaming, first of all. Talk to me like because I'm not that guy.
Yeah,
talk
you are.
Normal.
You are. You actually are, dude. Yeah. You are that guy.
I'm not that guy to fucking scream at, bitch. You want to get fucked up?
All right.
What the fuck you screaming at, bitch?
Let's calm down.
Gotta cut it, man. You think you can?
I'm not that guy. You don't disrespect me, bitch.
What did you do to me?
All right. Wow. Now, I'll get to what happens right after in another clip in a second. But man, I'm not sure Tim Pool really understood what "I'm not that guy" meant in that exchange there. He was trying to say, don't mess with me. And Tim Pool just escalated it. But things calmed down a little bit in the next clip. But this is where we get to some discussion here back and forth where look at what Tim Pool's trying to do. So their discussion here is about Tim Pool trying to say he's not racist, even though he, as you're going to see, Rugged Man discuss here, Tim Pool has defended Derek Chauvin. He defended Ahmaud Arbery's killers as well, apparently, which is insane. But defending either is insane. But Tim Pool's trying to argue that he's not racist because he did a documentary back in 2014 about Ferguson. Like, if you have to go back to 2014, then maybe the issue is your content. But this is where we get to the next clip.
Did you voice to me like I'm some sucker?
Did you laugh at me?
Bitch. Yeah, laugh.
Did you disrespect me? I was nice to you, bro. I was being nice.
You start raising your voice to me like I'm your son, bitch?
You raised your voice to me? Bro, I said I respected you.
You wouldn't shut the
I
fuck up
appreciated
with that
you.
raising your voice shit.
I stopped when you told me to.
You have videos promoting Derek Chauvin and acting like he was in the right. You have videos of that. You have videos of the other guy. You have videos of the other. You have videos of the other guy.
2 guys.
Armory. And you
2
go,
guys.
oh, but they grabbed the pistol, defending them, killing a black man in the streets, and he ran for them and giving excuses.
2 guys.
You have these videos, so all of this shit doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
No, of course not.
A decade of work doesn't matter.
No,
because
because lives were lost by police, and you were there bootlicking the fucking cops.
I think we should abolish the police.
Look at what that little noise there at the end from the Rugged Man is my feeling. That Tim Pool now supports abolishing the police. What? Going from defending Derek Chauvin, defending Ahmaud Arbery's killers, to now supporting abolishing the police. Come on. But I think he's just saying that in that moment because ultimately this is what I think about Tim Pool. We'll get to a third clip here in a second, but I don't think Tim Pool really has any political ideology. This is why he tries to claim that he's in the center, but I don't think he has an ideology. His ideology is the YouTube algorithm. He does whatever can make him the most money. Tim Pool does very well on YouTube. We're talking like tens of millions of views per month. And if you watch his content, it's incredibly right-wing. The stuff he's putting out there is incredibly reactionary. But that's what gets him the clicks. You know, back when he was in 2014, when he was doing a thing with Fusion, he got paid to do that, so he was fine to do that kind of thing. But now that he's independent, doing his own thing, he realizes to be able to, you know, make the kind of wealthy or the kind of money he's making, he needs to placate the right, and that's what he does. It's that simple. So he'll you know, wave back and forth here in this discussion, pretend to support abolish the police when he knows he doesn't. I mean, again, who knows what he actually supports? But he says that because he has no real principled ideology in what he actually believes. So he's willing to say something to placate the person in front of him in that one moment when you know the rest of his content does not support him abolishing the police. Now, let's get to this last clip here where Tim Pool, even though he complains about people that play the victim, is doing a very good job at playing the victim.
That there are people
we're in
who
a
have
redneck area. If we go up to the truck stop up the block, nobody's looking at you like, get that guy. You know.
I didn't say they were.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if you put somebody else in there, they're looking at you funny. You're good. You're good. You go to the airport, they're not pulling you over because they
No. That's bullshit.
They pull you over.
Yes.
Because you look like what? Because you
Yes,
look like
motherfucker.
What do you look like?
I get randomly flagged every fucking time I go to the airport. See,
because what reason?
The fuck if I know?
Because you look like what?
Fuck if I know, dude.
You really heard.
Because I get it fucking every single time I go, and you are a racist dude who says I couldn't possibly understand every fucking time I go to the airport. I'm randomly screened.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's the
Every time. Every time. I go to the UK, they put 4 S's.
What are you screaming for?
I'm screaming because
what? Because you're hurt that you're a white boy?
I'm hurt because you're a racist,
Yeah, there you go.
and you have this arrogance and elitism that you know better than everybody, that you're the white savior, that you got to be in the struggle for the poor brown people.
No,
and then
I didn't say
every
that. I didn't say
fucking
that.
time.
When
No,
I
bro,
watch your
no,
show-
listen to what I have to
I'm
say.
not gonna listen
When
to
I
nothing.
say
No,
something like,
lower your
when I'm
voice
being
first,
polite,
bitch.
when I'm
Lower
being
your voice-
polite to you,
Lower your voice first.
when I'm
and
being
talk
polite
like
to
a
you,
motherfucking human.
when I'm being polite to you,
Yeah.
and then I say I deal with this problem, and then you laugh at me, dude.
Yeah, I laugh sometimes.
You're a racist.
Yep. No, it's not.
Oh my God. What? What? Yeah. What? He's not going after, he's not criticizing you because you're white. Like, oh my God, this is so deranged on a couple levels, especially. So Tim Pool here complaining that he is targeted at the airport. Now, maybe he's being honest. Maybe he is targeted, but it's not because of how he looks, clearly. Like, so Tim Pool is mixed race, but he clearly looks very white. That's how society interacts with him. He's likely targeted because he's either traveling alone. So when you travel alone, often you get targeted. I've been targeted for traveling alone. Or they recognize him. So, you know, they do an extra check on him at the airport because maybe the TSA doesn't like him. I have no idea. So if Tim Pool is telling the truth, which I doubt he even is, that every time he goes to the airport, he's targeted. But even if he's telling the truth, it's not because of the way he looks, clearly. But the other part of this is just how much whining he's doing over this. Tim Pool has made a career off of complaining about other people's actual oppression. But here, he's the most oppressed individual, and he's pissed off calling his guest here racist because he won't recognize the fact that he's targeted, even though he's not being targeted for his race. Bizarre. Very bizarre. I don't know what to say. Now, I will say that it makes for good television. I mean, this is, I guess, part of the reason why Tim Pool brings in the kinds of views he does. He'll have these kinds of conversations. He'll bring these occasional people on that will challenge him. But in doing so, he exposes just how dishonest he is in the way he frames issues, because he has no real principled center. If he's going to say that he supports abolish the police, but then every other video is him attacking victims of the police, come on. It's so bizarre to me, but there you go. I don't know. According to a tweet that I saw, that was apparently pulled. This was apparently pulled down, this discussion. But now if you go to Tim Pool's channel, he actually has a commentary on that video. So maybe he's, I don't know, discussed more on it. But what a bizarre exchange. All right. That's that. God damn. You know, Tim Pool apparently has like a giant compound, like a huge mansion and like an indoor skate park and shit. Crazy, crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. All right. So we still got the wrap up to do. And then I'll take all your chats and other things. It's going to be fun. I got to say that this stream is only going to go downhill from there. I mean, that's how do I top that? That was just excellent content. 10 Law Gnome says, wait, I missed a couple here. Let me go up. Nanette says, so better. Anywho, Merry Christmas. Keep up the great work. Oh, I saw that already. Mark O'Brien says, I have the largest crush on you, but so does everyone else and other people who cares about them. Also tax the rich. Well, thank you, Mark, for your crush, I think. Is that what you say to that? I don't know how to respond to that, but thank you. Lawn Gnome says, I went and saw Don't Look Up this week. Great movie. I highly recommend it, and it'll be on Netflix on Christmas. Such a great way to talk about politics with family. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. It's co-written by David Sirota of the Daily Poster, a great journalist who's, of course, done fantastic work representing the left and the working class. David Sirota, of course, was a speechwriter for Bernie Sanders. So really cool. Looking forward to seeing that on Netflix. All right. A wrap up. All right. The wrap up. Let me see if this is even worth doing. I'll throw something together. All right. I'll be right back to prep this story. All right. Unfortunately, this isn't as exciting as the last few segments, but you know what? It's okay. Not everything is going to be as exciting as that. Nanette says, what's with hitting on David? Love your work. Go Canuck. Whatever. As long as they're sending super chats, I'm all good. I'm not going to complain. All right. It is time once again for the weekly wrap up. These are stories that I collect throughout the week that I did not do a full video on, but I think they're worth mentioning. So let me start here with one of CNN's two big hires this week. That is a former Trump spokesperson, Alyssa Farah, to join CNN as a political commentator. This was the same day that the U.S. hit 800,000 deaths from COVID-19. Of course, in part because of the misinformation and the downplaying of coronavirus during the Trump administration. But it's just incredible. Can you point to a single, just one person that worked for Bernie Sanders that works at CNN on a regular basis? That is a regular contributor to CNN. One Bernie spokesperson. There isn't one. One Democratic Socialist. One social democrat. Is there one person that works at CNN on a regular basis that believes in just basic social spending? CNN is incredibly right-wing. Now, no, it's not Fox News, it's not Newsmax, but the way they frame these issues, in particular from a economic perspective, incredibly right-wing. Pro-corporate, pro-billionaire, and this latest hire is just another example of that. This is a great piece of news from Polygon here. North America has its first video game union at Vodio Games. So Vodio or Vodio, however you say it. By the way, they have a game out that I want to check out. When discovering this story, I learned about Beastbreaker, which sounds pretty awesome. So I may check this game out. But this is good to hear. So the video game industry is notoriously one of the worst when it comes to workers' rights. Just absolutely atrocious, super long hours, especially during crunch time. I used to report on the video game industry way back in the day. So I have some familiarity with this industry, and just absolutely horrendous hours, horrendous overworking. The impact on their families is just atrocious. So it's good to see here Vodio. And by the way, they never at any point fought them. So management was perfectly fine. They allowed the union to form. They had their contract. There was no fight at all over this. So fantastic to actually see. I mean, it's such a rarity to see management act that way, but they were completely open to it, totally for it. And it's one of these companies where they already work. They already have, from my understanding, 4-day work weeks. So, and that's before the union. They already had, 4-day work weeks. They have all these fantastic benefits that most companies don't have. So to have, on top of that, also a union, to have real representation for the workers there is just fantastic to see. And I hope more companies follow suit. Next one here. So this is a clip. This is going to be Geraldo challenging Sean Hannity. So recently this week, or not this week, recently this week, this week, text came out showing Hannity texting the Trump administration during the January 6th riot, basically saying that Trump should stop what he's doing to come out and stop this. Well, Geraldo confronts Hannity on that here.
I beg you, Sean, to remember the frame of mind you were in when you wrote that text on January 6th, and when Laura did, and when Brian did, and when Don Jr. did. Remember the concern you had. Remember the frustration you had at our beloved 45th president.
Yeah, because I wanted a riot to end.
How can he be doing this? Why doesn't he say something? Why?
Okay, but the point is, he did.
You saw unfolding before your. You saw unfolding before your very eyes an attack on democracy.
Let me give it to Dan.
An attack on the Constitution. An attack on the capital of the United States of America.
He said peacefully, and then he did do it. Dan, you have less than a minute.
Look how Sean Hannity quickly wants to go to Dan Bongino because he doesn't want to hear this legitimate criticism. So this is the issue, as I discussed this week with these texts. It exposes how dishonest these Fox News hosts are on air, because all they have done since January 6th is downplay the riot and downplay Trump's involvement in the riot. But if Trump wasn't at the center of it, if he wasn't the reason for it, if he didn't have the power to stop it, then why did they text the Trump administration for him to stop it? It's because Trump played a major piece in that riot. But they're not going to discuss, they're not going to discuss how serious it was since January 6th. They've just downplayed it. And Geraldo here calling out Sean Hannity, which, one of the few people that will call out these hosts on air. And it's nice to see. Next clip here. So this is Dr. Oz, who's apparently a little peeved that media is now, or the Philadelphia Inquirer has announced they will refer to him as Mehmet Oz, his actual name, as opposed to Dr. Oz. Here he is on Fox and Friends.
No, they're not. They're putting their thumb on the scale. And here's the thing. There's such an enthusiastic response to the campaign. I'm here in Pittsburgh talking to people, and it makes me optimistic because they've got great ideas. Meanwhile, the Inquirer hates that I'm empowering you. Hates that I'm taking on some of the established folks, hates that the entrepreneurial solutions that I'm offering might make sense, and they don't like that I say what I see. So they want to silence me. And I tell you, it is shocking that it would make them that uncomfortable this early in my campaign, but I think it's reflective of the movement we represent.
Well, they're trying to cancel you. I saw your Twitter. That's what you said.
And the Twitter response that I posted back got a huge response because people see it. I mean, you can't look away. Why would the Inquirer get involved in this process? Why would they not want to call me Dr. Oz? Everyone knows I'm Dr. Oz, but they don't think it's the right thing to do. They think it gives me an unfair advantage. I think what...
All right. There you see a Republican doing what they do best, playing the victim. That's his name. That's why they are calling you that. Now, personally, I've reported on this idiot twice now since he's announced his run for Senate in Pennsylvania. I call him Dr. Oz because it's just easier. It's quicker, especially when it comes to naming titles. The shorter a title, the better it normally does. So Dr. Oz is shorter than Mehmet Oz. But that's his name. Like, he's freaking out because they're saying they're going to call him by his name. And Dr. Oz is fighting the establishment? What are you talking about? He's not for Medicare for all. He's not for eliminating the health insurance industry. God, go back and watch. If you're fooled by this guy, please go back and watch my first video on Dr. Oz announcing it. I'll link to it maybe above and below on YouTube because it's just all hot air. He's just completely playing the right-wing grifter game and saying what he thinks will help get him elected. He recently was on Fox News and he stumbled over a question about abortion because he knows that personally he probably is not against, he probably is pro-choice, but he has to play this game now. So he basically stumbled over this answer on Fox News over abortion, and you could see him. He's trying to play this game, but he doesn't know how to do it because his actual positions are mixing with what he has to do as somebody campaigning. And ultimately, he's going to be like, if you're somebody who, and the reason I pointed this out is because on Facebook, I saw a Democrat in the comments on my Dr. Oz videos say that they're a Democrat, but they will vote for Dr. Oz. If you're somebody who thinks that way, what kind of power do you think Dr. Oz will have if he becomes a senator in a Republican Party? He's going to have even if he, which is not going to happen, but even if he held to his positions, his, I guess, secret positions on abortion and other issues that he may have different than what the GOP want, his one vote will do nothing. But the reality is, of course, he's not going to hold to that. He's going to vote along with everybody else in the GOP. God, this guy is pulling one over on people, and it is really sad to see. And it's all because of his name and his celebrity status on TV for so long. And I'll also have to mention here, this is the party that always speaks out against Hollywood. They're always anti-Hollywood. Yet Ronald Reagan, Donald Trump, Dr. Oz, why don't they factor in? Just incredible. Next one here. Just an extension of the previous story. CNN Smirkonish, Dr. Oz told me he wouldn't sit for an interview because it would upset everyone at Fox. God, what a tool. All right. Last thing here. I guess I have to mention this. I don't have to, but I didn't mention it this week. Chris Wallace is now with CNN. So he left Fox News as their Sunday anchor, joining CNN Plus, I guess CNN's new online network. Just going to show you, full circle here, how CNN is a right-wing network. They have no socialist, no Bernie supporter on air, no Democratic socialist, not even a social democrat that is a regular contributor on CNN. But when it comes to the right, Donald Trump hires, of course. Who cares? Fox News hires, of course. Bring him in. Showing you once again the right-wing bias of CNN and largely of all media. Okay. There we go. That was a long wrap-up, wasn't it? Oh well, it is what it is. All right, let me wrap up some of these chats, and I'll grab some randos as well. I'll bring this in front of me so it's easier. All right. Chris Chuck says, "Hey David, I have a personal question. What is your ethnicity?" I am white. I'm a white guy. I know it's confusing, but I'm pretty white. I guess if you want to know more, there's some Portuguese in my family, so Portuguese and white, I guess, which is also white. Mark O'Brien says, I would so pursue you if you weren't trying to get people. Jesus Christ. Okay, Mark, we get it. Thank you. Thank you for your super chat, though. Mark says, again, follows up, says, not you, I mean, people in general. Sorry, LOL. I don't get what you're saying. I would so pursue people in general if you weren't trying to get... Whatever you're saying, thank you for your super chat, Mark, and I appreciate the love. I really do. All right. Let me grab some randos. Some randos in the chat. Ethnicity is not color. I know, but like I'm Canadian. Like, what ethnicity do you want me to have? It's like, the way I live my life as a Canadian boy. That's how I live my life. So yes, there's Portuguese in my family, but I don't live as a Portuguese person. So I'm Canadian. Rachel says, I miss David's luxurious locks. I gotta say, there was one video. I was doing some research for one of my videos this week. I came across one. I think it was January. And my hair looked actually really, it was long, but it was like a good long. But I feel like from January on, it was too much. So, maybe one day I'll get back to my January hair from 2020, a year ago, but not likely. Radzoso says, hey, David, how can I avoid getting stuck in an echo chamber? I don't know. Taking content from various places, I guess. I don't know. But I mean, like, also, what do you mean by echo chamber? Because it's still important to be stuck in objective reality. Because a lot, if not all, right-wing content at this point is just dishonest. It's just lies. So ultimately, it's about, what do you care about? Do you care about helping society? Do you care about expanding rights? Do you care about, increasing access to healthcare? Do you care about helping people? Then does it make sense to consume content that tells you no, corporations and the wealthy should make more money while people die? Like, this is why I don't always get the complaints about this echo chamber crap, because it really is only an issue on the right, because you can get stuck in a perspective where it's all about these cultural issues. It's all about Big Bird. It's all about, fears about critical race theory and all that shit. But you never are given any discussions around, low wages or lack of healthcare or, racism in policing or, various issues that are real issues that impact people's lives every single day. So, when it comes to an echo chamber, I would say just ensure you're getting a rounded perspective on what is actually happening in objective reality. Like, not just, in North America, but also around the world, which of course, a lot of this takes time as well. Like, you need to have the time to consume all this information. A lot of people don't, and that's fine. If you don't want to know what's happening in, Honduras, you don't have to. It's not your job. So also, don't be afraid to live your life and not have to be consumed with the problems all across the world, because ultimately we have to live our lives, right? We have to be able to still enjoy our families and friends and enjoy life. And we can't do that if we're always trying to consume, what is happening in all aspects of the world. But I'm getting off your question here, but getting back to your question, just ensure you're getting, a healthy dose of what is happening in terms of domestic policy, foreign policy, economic issues, cultural issues, or, I don't know. I don't know. Again, it goes back to, what do you mean by echo chamber? Because ultimately it doesn't mean consuming the left and right equally, because the right is just full of shit at this point. Mark O'Brien says, I pursue smart, progressive people is the point. Sorry, LOL. No need to apologize. But keep the super chats coming. I'm not complaining. Bring in more. Also, at this point, I should say, if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. It's completely free. Just hit subscribe on YouTube. I showed you earlier, the very beginning of the stream, how YouTube is screwing me. So just subscribing is beneficial. Dabby J says, don't be tribal in politics. Yeah, that's also a point worth mentioning. Don't just blindly support any political party, because it's not about the parties. It's about the actual issues and how do we forward those issues into reality. And those are not tied directly to parties. So, yeah. Pizza Pasta says, when are you going to stream games? I don't know. I plan to do it this week, and I didn't. I have to make an actual schedule and stick to a schedule, because if I just do it on a whim, I'm not going to grow an audience. It's going to be no point. So, for me, it's either the mornings, like an hour or two in the morning, or it's at night. I may start doing it like once a week, then maybe twice a week, and then see how it goes. Speaking of which, thank you for reminding me, because I almost forgot. I have a second channel. If you go right now, I'll just show you. But if you go on the main page on this YouTube page, you will see propped up there is this right here. Hit subscribe right there. Go here and hit subscribe. So this is just youtube.com/therationalnational, of course, the homepage. Hit subscribe on my David Dole page, and I'm trying to grow that because that's where I want to do the streaming. So, and it's not just gaming content. I'm going to do gaming content, of course, but maybe vlogs, maybe other random stuff. There's already 6 videos on there that are old videos from a long time ago, from a different life before I ever started politics. But you can go check those out if you want. We got my ayahuasca experience, a couple of short films with my buddy Miles here. Me in Peru, look at that. And also a music video I did. Check that out. And I was kind of shooting a documentary at one point. We never actually finished it, but a little clip from that as well. But yeah, anyways, but I'm going to start doing some actual stuff on there. So go check out and subscribe to that page. Annette says, you just needed a trim, David. LOL, hair was fab. Maybe, but it was, I don't know. This is so much easier. Having hair that is short is just so, it's not like laying everywhere, like all over the house. Washing my hair is so much simpler and a shorter process. I don't know. I think while I don't disagree that length can look okay at a certain length, it's just too cumbersome. Junie McGraw, hello, Junie. Good to see you. Says, hey, David, long time no see. My question is if you ever seen the show Breaking Bad, and healthcare aspect of the show would make sense in Canada. Yes, Breaking Bad, fantastic show. And yeah, that show would not exist in Canada or pretty much any other nation with universal healthcare, because, of course, Walter White only started doing what he was doing because he had to pay for his cancer treatment, which would already be paid for if you were in a country with universal healthcare. So, yeah. Dabby J says, for you and the family, Merry Christmas. Thank you, Dabby. Thank you so much. Yeah, actually, this is the last stream before Christmas because I'm not going to be streaming next Friday. Maybe I'll do one like Wednesday or something. I probably will do a game or a stream on the David Dole channel before then. And it's because I'm streaming games. I'm still going to talk about, I'll talk about politics and news and stuff, but it's going to be streams as opposed to, structured videos. So make sure you are, again, subbed to the David Dole channel to check that out. Madman says, David looked like, why can't I say his name? Keanu Reeves. It's because you spelled it wrong, so it screwed me up. David looks like Keanu Reeves with long hair. That is a big compliment. Thank you. Thank you so much. Speaking of which, I rewatched the first Matrix last weekend. I forgot almost everything about the movie, minus like the big the big action sequences. But I never watched the second or third movie, so I want to do that very soon because I do want to watch the new one coming out. Really, really dig it. Black Caucus is finishing up Grand Theft Auto San Andreas Definitive Edition right now, but just bought Red Dead Redemption on Xbox 360 to replay it. Red Dead Redemption is so good. Great game. Great game. I never actually finished San Andreas. David Dole was a rapper? I was not a rapper. I did a music video for a guy who is a rapper, but I'm not a rapper. Can you imagine me rapping, really? What the hell would that even look like? I can't imagine me rapping. Celeste says, can I be in your next music video? If I ever get back to it, maybe I'll link up with my buddy Director X and we'll do a music video together. All right. I can smell dinner. So my mind is elsewhere right now. Probably gonna jump off shortly. Rachel Atwood says, if you haven't already, you should connect with Matt Binder. I have. He's managed a media career with 2 little kids. That's right. He has 2 kids. Yeah. I got to see. I need to ask him for advice. But no, I think I've had Matt Binder on my show twice. Or I think I've been on his show twice and he was on mine once. But yeah, Binder is great. New chat from Lawn Gnome says, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and all that jazz. What are your favorite holiday dishes? Well, getting back to my ethnicity, Portuguese. Anything Portuguese. So Portuguese shrimp. When I ate meat, Portuguese chicken. But seafood in general, when I think of Christmas, I think of Portuguese seafood. That's what comes to mind. Crab. My God, the crab. Yeah, crab and shrimp. That's my jam. Those are my dishes. EKJ says, it's important to be aware of what the unhinged right say and do and keep a finger on the pulse of their radicalization. 100%. I did a show this week with Nomiki Konst. And in fact, I think the entire show was about the right wing and a slide into fascism. So check out her show on, let me bring it up, on Rockfin and on YouTube. I know half the show's on YouTube and then the full show's on Rockfin. But check out Nomiki Konst. Fantastic. I'm sure you all know Nomiki, but here you go. That's her page. There you go. Make sure you're subscribed to Nomiki's show. All right. Someone says, are you French? I'm not French. There may be some French in my background. Like, my grandparents were born here, so I don't even know how far back it goes. But I know they were born here. It's possible. I think one of their parents were maybe born in like England or something. So I'm like half Portuguese, half English, French, something like that. Portuguese sausage, also fantastic. But again, I stopped eating meat, so don't remind me. Don't remind me of things I don't eat anymore. No, you're not going to get me started. I'm not going to stop eating crab or lobster or octopus. So you can try. It's not happening. I already gave up beef and chicken as far as I go. As far as I go. Sorry. There's seafood in my veins. It's not possible. I can't give it up. Okay. I keep saying okay because I'm going to go, but I like reading the chat. Meme King says, your opinion of Singh not being more vocal about the BC NDP's actions against the Wet'suwet'en peoples in northern BC. I think I've discussed this before. Was there a video on this? Yeah, there was. I did a video on that where I mentioned that. But he's weak. He's not a good leader. I think he's unwilling to challenge established powers. That's the bottom line. He is more of a tool of the people around him. There's still, people behind the scenes in the NDP that are sort of controlling him. So, yeah, that's the issue. Is he's still very new to politics. So I think a good comparison I think is Obama, where Obama, hopeful guy, strong message, but ultimately was caught in the whims of the people around him who had been in politics longer, who had sort of taken control of what was going on. That's kind of how I see Singh right now. He's not doing what he can be doing. And I think part of it is because he doesn't feel like he has the agency or the ability to do it. So he sort of lets others around him take control, and, we see the result of that. I think Dole is Dutch. I don't think it's Irish. I think it's Dutch. But again, I don't know any of my history on that side of the family, really. Okay, I gotta go. But thank you all for showing up. Again, this is likely the last Rational National stream this year, but I want to do a stream or two on my second channel again. David Dole, just look it up. It's also on the main page of the Rational National. Just go to the main page and you will see me at the top of the page. Hit subscribe. Very simple. All right, I will see you all there at some point in the next week. But apart from that, have a great Christmas and see you live again on this channel after Christmas. See you later.